All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekly IWDS local discovery session. This is session number 20, and today's date is Thursday, June 13th. So we will go through our project updates and sprint updates, and then we will move right along into today's working session. Al, do you want to give us a quick update on the project updates?
You bet. All right, everyone. Currently in development, there's some milestone A work going on. Um, and then there's the server templates and collections piece where we're building the back end of that. That allows us to assign a service later on, but this is pre-work for that. We have the entity relationship management piece being built out still. We have the relationship management part is the final part of that before we start working on the training program stuff that you saw last week. Um, and I think what we'll do is we'll have that available in the UAT when we get that piece done, that relationship management piece, um, while we're working on the training piece. We've started some data migration. We want to keep up with that as we go. We want to start getting some data. We're bringing some data in, scrambling some names and stuff like that. We started with contacts and addresses, and this next sprint we'll start working up that chain and picking up locations, and then entities, the provider stuff, and employer stuff. So we're trying to get to a position so that you got some real data, some good data inside of that UAT environment when we get there, and hopefully that'll be soon. We're continuing our discovery, as much of you know, but on customer intake, also expanding intake to incorporate WEO, which is applications. Customer intake is Olivia started that, and then Taylor's picking that up and working with that until Olivia gets back. Expand intake, which is the application piece. There's Lynette's working that from a BA perspective. Danny has the trade adjustment assistance. She's going along with that. And of course, I got the ETPL piece that you guys saw last week. So I'm continuing that, and we're working through with the state experts on training programs now. 8 will be completed today, and then we'll start our sprints, just to remind you, to go from Friday to the following week, Tuesday, or 2 following weeks. So I'm Friday to Thursday. So today is our last day, and then we'll be into sprint 9 tomorrow, and that'll go for 2 weeks. So that's all I have on status.
Awesome. Thanks, Al. So we only have 2 things on the agenda for today's working session. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to open this up for a discussion on possibly eliminating the relationship ID. This has been on our agenda for a few weeks, but we have not had time to get to it, so we put it first today. And a while back, Sarah had emailed all of you collecting some information about like what you do for your relationship ID, how do you generate that ID, things like that. Al kind of went over that with the state and discussed it with them. And then we were just wanting to kind of get some feedback on you guys on this relationship ID and the thoughts of, like I said, possibly eliminating it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because that was a piece that I think Al kind of covered with the state before. So, and I didn't see any of the responses from you guys that was sent to Sarah. So Al and or Sarah, if one of you could lead that discussion, we can open the floor.
Well, I'll first say, Sarah, if you probably can dig up some of that, that email stuff, and so you can have that as a reference in a minute, and you can kind of tell us how that worked. But right now, the relationship ID is a 12 alphanumeric field. When you create a relationship, it's pretty meaningless. It has also a suffix, which is a 2-digit number. It's pretty meaningless in the sense of you can do whatever you want with it, right? But we've talked about standardizing it. We've talked about a lot of different things. We do get into some issues when if you make meaning out of that code. You get into quite a few issues because because we want to allow you to still build relationships however you want to. So like if we had meaning on the code, and you included, maybe you included everything in one relationship, or maybe you broke it out into different ways, then the meaning in the code would probably not help. So then we're saying, then after we went around and around about that in discussion, we said, why do we even have the relationship ID? We don't, it's not needed anywhere. So, so before we go about eliminating that though, we want to talk through this one more time and see how that would be a detriment if we did remove it. And before I go any farther, Sarah, you, what kind of response did you get? Maybe 50-50, like
Yeah,
50 didn't care.
yeah,
So
it was pretty close to 50-50, but I would say it was a little bit more to wanting to keep the relationship ID. But and I will again defer to the group. Everybody had different ways of using the relationship ID. There was no consistency really throughout the group. A lot of the people maybe used a date and like a grant number, but there wasn't a lot of consistency. So that's where we got into the discussion of how valuable it is and if it was something that we would need to keep. So that's kind of where I'll leave it. But I had emailed all of you and I got a response back from everybody. This was early May. So you can refer to that email if you need to see exactly what was being asked.
So Rory, was that you, or Callahan? I think there's something in the chat here. It says, let me know. Yeah, we just say our latest opinion is you don't enter one, you don't see one. What would that mean? I know that's a pretty abstract idea. So anyway, we keep saying we're going to open it up. So anybody jump in here and say, I think the first thing we need to know is if you're passionate about that ID, tell us how you use it.
I was gonna ask, and sorry, you know what, I think I might have like misinterpreted the sort of the email survey. I didn't, so say that was probably a dumb question in the chat, like eliminating it altogether. I didn't realize that that was one of the options, you know, in the survey. I thought it was, do we want to leave it? The choices were either to leave it where we can customize it ourselves, the LWIAs, alphanumeric, characters allowed, all that, or do we want to make it where it's like date generated, or it's based on the date. So I'm sorry, I thought it was one of those two options. But as far as the I think we would prefer to keep it. I don't know if we'd be devastated if we didn't keep it, as long as there's a way for reporting. So currently in IWDS, if I'm not mistaken, you know, there's certain reports where if you're trying to look up, you know, like participants, like number enrolled, or the types of the specific programs are enrolled in, with like participant, you know, history, provider relationships, that some of the reports allow you to do it by the FEIN for the entity, and then it'll capture all locations. Let's say it's a community college that has a couple of satellite campuses or something, you'll get all of them. And then some of the reports currently built into IWDS only give you the option to search by the location, by the relationship number, which then would, you know, would give you just that specific location of an entity. So if the reporting requirements, with the reporting capabilities are going to be, and it sounds like they would be, because you know things have come a long way since IWDS, which was been very advanced for its time. But it sounds like they would be updated in the new system. But if the reporting capabilities, you know, your search filters, the options to pull data on providers and participants, if the capabilities are going to be, you know, expanded to where we don't need a relationship number as far as, you know, tracking and pulling and searching for that data, then I guess, we'd be fine, without it. But of course, I definitely, can't speak, for the whole group and for every OWIA on that. I'm just saying that, we would, it helps to have a way to track. And I know other OWIAs use it. We do this a little bit too, but I know other OWIAs that are more spread out. They probably use it to a much greater degree, as far as tracking maybe grant numbers, or this was a youth contract, even though it's an entity that also does ITAs. So I think the consensus was like a lot of people do use it to their benefit. So I don't want to speak for everybody. I was just saying that me personally, I thought it was kind of necessary, because I'm thinking in like the current IWDS reporting menu, there's some reports where I think you can only search by the relationship number. So as long as the reporting search capabilities and are going to be expanded, and like I said, I'm sure they are in the new system, and there's going to be another way to track that data and pull and search for that data, then that would be, I think that would be our kind of concerns. Like, as long as that's going to be in place, then
Right. Not to put you on the spot, but I think I've shared here a list of reports. Can you point me to one of these where you're pulling by relationship ID?
yeah, now I'm on the spot.
Participant by provider.
I think it's, but yeah, there's
This
participant
one
by
here?
provider. I couldn't remember if it was that one or the one in the provider menu where it's provider registration, detailed provider registration. But I think it's participant by provider. You can either do all, or you have to. So it's the third one from the top. There you go.
Yeah, try it again.
It's not coming
Sometimes
through.
okay, now just hit that Illinois worknet. Yeah, hit that. Okay.
I don't know what it's just
Okay,
test.
close
So
it
I
out
don't know if we
now.
have
Close
any.
it out. Close down. Log off. Log off. It wants you to sign off. Sign back in again now. Now go to the reporting menu. Third one. Oh yeah, it's not
It's not
letting
doing
you.
it right now. Yeah, it's not doing it in test right now.
Oh,
but
It's not.
why, Al? Are you in a training, the alternative universe, as we say, for IWDS, or are you in the standard?
yeah, I'm in training one, not production.
I'm wondering if that's why production, you'd have to be in that one to pull a report.
I'm in 5. Hey, I don't want to pull production, but so
I
So
can
when
see
you
if I can
go
pull
into
it.
that-
if you want,
so-
I could bring it up. I could show you my screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could take a screen snip and post the image or something.
I can get into it. I just I didn't know if we wanted to do that.
Yeah, and I don't. And if it's gonna derail or sidetrack things, by all means, I didn't want to cause that. But
No, I was kind of wanting to see what the criteria for that was, so that I could
okay, it looks
decide.
like
I
actually
so I
that
can
one
answer your
gives you.
question better, because that way I could say,
I'm in there now, and actually it looks
There
like
you
you
go.
can do either
okay,
or.
so you're saying
I gotta find the one that it only lets you do. Some of them are either
you can
or.
go by
Some of them,
you can go by service level in here. You can go by activity.
And the relationship numbers is right there where you put the relationship number and the suffix in those 2 boxes.
So
Yeah,
what would it give? So
and that one's okay.
So I got a relationship
allow
back
you to
pocketed
do.
somewhere, right? So
Yeah.
I have to have that somewhere written down or something. I have
Well,
to have a
that one
relationship
allows you
ID.
to do both. That one you can do either or. I was mistaken on that one. Participant history is one.
Right.
I just found if you go to a different, the first report in that menu, participant history, that's one where I believe if you wanted to tie it and just see participants, with a certain, that's one where it doesn't let you, if you're looking for ones tied to a certain provider, it doesn't let you do the FEIN. This is an example of one where you can only search, I believe, by the,
Well, if you know the
Relationship
relationship number, then you put it there. The fiend is just a backup. So when you're doing reporting, you should start off with the relation number in this category and the one that you was in previous. Because based on the fiend number, you might gather all of it. The relationship
So I
number
was gonna
going to be
ask.
specific to just one, whatever you want to pull up.
Which
So you
provider location?
right.
But what I-
So
You're narrowing it to provider location. So if some of the criteria was a list of provider locations, right?
Yeah,
Then you
but
wouldn't
I,
care about the relationship ID.
right. And I know the difference, the distinction between if you're searching and your search parameters are the fiend, that casts a wider net versus the relationship. Or the point I was, sorry, the point I was making is that in reports like this is one example. There's not a ton, but there's a few of them where if you wanted to search for participant data based on what, who the provider is, if you eliminate a relationship number in the new system, what I'm saying is in here, the only way, well, you could do grant number, I guess, but the only filter that's provider or entity related in this report criteria is the relationship number. So what I was saying is, like, if you eliminate the relationship number, then we would have to, in the new system, have the capability to somehow look up, there would have to be a filter or a choice in there to search by participants. If you wanted to see participants tied to a certain entity or provider, you'd have to have a new. I'm sorry, I'm probably not making sense, but
No,
you
no,
guys
you're right. We'd have to give you
another option.
a couple things, right? We'd give you entity, entity location. We wouldn't even give you just entity because all relationships are tied to locations. So we'd give you entity location, right?
Or yeah,
And
or
then
you
we would
could have two,
right? And then we
would
and then we would probably say, okay, out of these entity locations, here's all your active relationships, or maybe all your relationships because it's history. So here's all your relationships, and you would have a list of those because relationships are driven by funding source. So you'd have a list of funding sources there, and you could pick all or none, or all or one or two. You can just say, okay, I want all of those. So, what I'm saying? You're correct. You're absolutely correct. We would have reports data driven, not code driven. Like
yeah,
we would,
yeah,
we would definitely have to give you, but it would be, like just like this, but it wouldn't be just like this because this is kind of ridiculous too because it's just long, right? This grant thing, but like we would want to give you, okay, you pick a provider and you say, yeah, I think I want all the provider, or you could say, no, you know what, I want it from a specific fund source or a year or an act, or
Sure.
date ranges or all those kinds of things because, so you'd have more query parameters available to you if we eliminate
Yeah, or
that.
even like
We're not going to eliminate
you
something
could type in the
and
text.
now I can't filter this report, right? You want to be able to filter this
Right.
report down.
Or yeah, even the option like a drop down if you want to search by location or by
Yep.
the entity as a whole, and then
Yep.
or maybe even I don't know if it's possible, but
Yeah.
like where we start typing the letters in, it might like the
Yep.
in Illinois WorkNet now
Yeah.
the WIO provider search where if you start typing it in, it'll auto populate with
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
anything like that would be fine. I'm just saying, like, if you eliminate it, you have to come up with another query search options for us that
Right.
we could use.
Right. Because the problem with using codes that have some kind of meaning that is only meaning to certain groups is you either got to have a phenomenal memory of what that code is or you have to write it down somewhere and put it on a posting on the side of your monitor or something so that when you go grab that report, you're going, oh yeah, okay, I need to look at these relationship IDs. That's the problem with that world. But when we give you all kinds of query parameters to filter by, because these are filter parameters, right? If you didn't, I don't know how many of these you have to have, probably not very many. And
I'm not sure
filters
if
it
any
in.
are really required. I mean, it's just the less you put in, you're going to have a huge report.
Huge report,
might
right?
be too
Pages.
large. The result, the file might be too large than Crystal report.
Exactly.
I don't know. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know if any are necessarily.
I mean, I'm thinking, reporting should work similar to our list stuff we showed you, right? We have a filtering capability on the left and your report data is on the right, right? And as you tweak this, as you enter more data, page one of the set, not maybe, we just bring back page one of the set at a time. That set comes back as, changes as you say, well, no, I want to add this to my, the normal consumer type list. And when you finally get it filtered that way, the way you want it, then you just export the report if you want to export it or whatever you want to do with it. I think that's probably, I don't even know what happens yet on these. Oh, you can view it. So it's probably just a column-based report, right? That's what this is. I don't know if I could, I don't want it to grind. I'd have to put in, I don't know what kind of access I have with my ID, but somebody give me one of the relationship IDs and I'll see what it looks like here. Rory, you got one just handy?
Oh, sorry, I was muted there. Hold on a second. I can I can put it in the chat if it's easier to copy it.
Sure.
There you go. It should be for the College of DuPage.
And what's the meaning to this? Is there any meaning to this?
That was, my long, that was before me. They've been, College of DuPage has been around, our provider since probably the JTPA days before my time. So I'm not sure. And then, well, obviously, when IWDS came out, I mean, that was after JTPA, but I'm not sure what the rhyme or reason was. I don't know if that was like a date, maybe. It's because 04
Okay.
that's about the
No
time
problem.
IWDS kind of went live. So it could have been that could have been date generated, or not date generated, but they could have just put it in because that was the date that
Hey, Al, the reason why that report is not showing no number, you got it at Lake County. I don't have that number set up in my local area, so you're not gonna drag nothing. So wherever Rick is at, you need his local area to get that report.
Yeah, I figured something like that. But I just wanted to see what it was. This is probably just summary, right? And if you did have data, you'd have columns of detail, rows of detail.
Yeah, the columns are all there of what it would say, but like Robert said, you're just not going to get any rows of the names.
That's cool. That's fine. I didn't need to see the data anyway.
The summary
would too.
Yeah, the summary would look exactly the same on the very last page of the report.
Okay. All right, and then back to the. I have to resurrect that, but back to this. I'm going to resurrect it. Back to this discussion about if it was generated and it was consistent. What would be the pros and cons of that? So if we said, hey, you know what, we're going to generate one, what would we generate? Like, what are you, that one particular one is old, and I'm assuming you're just extending the date on that relationship. So it's just an old date. I mean, an old relationship number, right? And it didn't have meaning to you because you said, hey, it's created way before I was here. So that means to me that somebody's just extending the date on that.
Oh,
Probably.
yeah, we renew it every year. Yeah, the
right. You're just reusing it, or you just keep using it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and I myself, I mean, for provider relationships, over the last 12 years or so that I've been doing it in this role, I mean, I myself have created them based on date. When I just coming up with a random number, I'm like, it's okay. So, if you ever see any in our area that are curiously like 2018, like 2018, 0802. That
Right.
was, I
And
guess, funny, you know,
when we put
so
it,
I will admit
right,
I've done that. I mean, we do that sometimes just if we don't, because if we don't have a, I mean, sometimes we'll create a specific number that does have a rhyme or reason to it. But when it's just a new provider or a new relationship with a provider, whether it's a new provider, existing provider we haven't used before. Yeah, I mean, I have done it that way, and I'm assuming looking closer at that one I gave you, that's probably how she did it before.
right.
It's the same way, but it doesn't
And
have
the issue with that, as you can see, the issue with dating those, I guess the pro is once you get it in your mind, you probably know it. But the con is it has nothing to do with the period of the relationship because you keep extending and maybe have something to do with this first time. That
Yeah,
one
it's
didn't
just
because
so
it
we
was in
know like
2024, right?
how long we've been
So
working with that provider or something. Yeah, it's just a date.
yeah, you might know. Yeah, it doesn't even tell you anything about the provider. Like we were trying to come up with some really clever ways to build those out with, but it seems like the more clever you get, the more restrictive you get in what that relationship could cover. Because, like for example, if you said, "Well, I want to include an acronym for the funding source," well, that doesn't work because I could have tons of funding sources on there that are different. Okay, or I want to include a year or something like that. Then what year is it? Is it the start year? And what does that mean anyway? Okay, if I want to, I don't have really enough room. I have 12 characters. I might have enough room for provider, which would make like the most sense if I could make an acronym out of provider, or maybe the first four letters or 5 letters or 6 letters out of provider, and put that in there. But I don't see people doing that right now. I don't see people putting in those 4 or 5 letters. Like this one here was for. Well, I hope there would be a provider name on here, but it doesn't look like there is.
It would have been for the College of DuPage, the community college up here. But we've had some where we have used alphanumeric, like when we had like First Institute Training and Management is in McHenry. Uh, 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 um, a lot of areas in our region up here probably have used them over the years. They've been around for a long time. So as an ITA provider, we have a relationship with them, but then we also had a youth contract with them a few years ago. So for that one, we wanted to distinguish it. So I think we put FITM, FITM 1Y and then 2018 or 2019, 2019 or whatever so that
Right.
one was very distinguishable. It was for that summer, that year. And it was and so that we knew like to tell career planners, hey, if you're enrolling any youth in this contract program, be sure to use this relationship number for First Institute, not the general one we have. So yeah, sorry, I'm kind of hogging the floor here, but definitely it'd be worth it to see what all the others on the call, the other LWIAs, how they use it and get their input. Like I said, I didn't want to get us too off track as far as the design.
No,
But
I understand, and that's why I'm trying to bring up. I just want you to know that we've thought a lot about this, and we've thrown some of those different ideas in the hopper. Like this particular report, which I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing it. That the College of DuPage is listed on here. Where's College of DuPage listed? I mean, the provider name's not even on this report.
it would, I think it would be there.
I mean, how did you know that? How do you know that when you look at this report?
I think because you have to be signed into the right area in order to pull the appropriate information for that relationship number.
Okay, give me one that I'm signed into. Do you guys know where I'm signed into?
I'm not LWA1.
It's
so I can't help.
it's because it said LWO1. If you go back to that report, you need to change that to LWO6 because LWO1 probably doesn't have a relationship with College of DuPage. So,
Well, we have it, but not under that number.
okay, right. It defaulted to LEO one, I think it said.
So now you're using the participant history and you could do the same relationship number there too.
Just go down and make sure you drop that down to LEO 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I could have done that. Yeah.
But when you,
I got you. I'm with you now.
I would put activity start date, Al, like something very recent, or you'll have like like July 1 or January 1 of 2024, or just a very recent date, or you'll have like a massive report, like 700
that work?
pages.
Okay, I put May 1st. Okay.
And actually, you're
There
right.
it
I
is.
don't think
There it
on
is.
this one, I don't think the provider's name is actually, or location name actually comes up unless it's at the very end.
Yeah, it
Right
doesn't
here.
really come up like
We just
that.
know because
I mean, you're just gonna see it at the bottom, maybe. You might see the relationship number.
yeah, but it
Well,
won't
you
say
do
the
got
name.
your you
It
do
won't
have
say
your
the name.
you do have your LWIA though. That's it. That's it. You don't have
And see, when
don't
you
have
see,
relationship.
if you look where it says, so that's the grant and relationship, you see the number that you put in there. Okay, look at the person name right above you. Look at that person name. Look at the grant number where you see 23681000. Now you're going too far up. You're going too far up. Go back. That one's fine too. Either one. That's right there.
I see. Here's one. Okay.
Okay, if you go the relationship number you put in, that 09230406. That's telling you that's the provider name. It don't give you
Why
the
didn't it put
name.
it here?
Oh, well, no.
I'm not
Well,
sure
you
that
know,
could
there's
just
a lot
be.
of this report need to be either taken out. A lot of it is not used. A lot of this data is not really needed. Hopefully we start creating better reporting to really get the outcome we want for all local areas.
But yeah,
And I
you're
think
right.
another problem is these were created in Crystal. And so I think it was more headache to go back and fix something that wasn't working. If it was
Got
just
it.
something minor, like, oh, this relationship number at the bottom's not showing up. But it
Yeah, I
says
was gonna
all.
say, I think it's just an omission accidentally. Just it wasn't something, you
But
know.
this should still tie to a location and a provider.
Hey, it's just going to show you the
Yeah.
relationship number, not the name. Now, other report will show you the name.
Yeah.
But well, I guess in the selection criteria, I guess you don't really need the relationship number. I guess it's okay that it's blank because it's like I typed it in. I know which relationship number I selected. I guess it might be kind of redundant to have it in there. So
Oh,
that's
on the page. Well, no, I get that.
on the very
But
bottom, where it says selection criteria, why you were saying like why the number doesn't appear there. It's probably just a redundancy. Probably
well,
doesn't-
you could. I'm assuming you could go over multiple relationship numbers. You don't have to put that in. I'm surprised it's even here unless they were expecting to put like right. You know, I mean, if I didn't put in a relationship number, it wouldn't be specific to a relationship number.
No, it's just going to bring you everything up for that local area.
Right. So that's why that's kind of important on this row. But what we don't have, and what we don't have really, it's just interesting. We don't have the name of the provider.
It could be because
pretty wild.
also because
Or the fund.
some locations might be like DBA, like the entity, the provider might be Fast Lane Education and Consulting Incorporated, and then at one location they're calling themselves Directions Training Center or something. I'm just kind of making that up on a real example, sort of, but
okay,
maybe that's why just that like that but
all right. So let me turn. So if we had potentially two things, if we had reports that were providing information, attributes about that relationship, because this obviously, if you didn't have the relationship on this, let's just say we had a way to select in the query side, the filter side. Let's just say we have a way to select the provider, if you want to nail it down to provider, and a fund or one or more fund types, fund sources. Because if you think about those two things, and then I guess you already have time frames, so that's already there. So the only thing else on a relationship, you know, and you already have services and activities, service levels and activities you can select from. So the only thing else that's not there that's in a relationship ID is the actual provider you could select and the fund source and or fund sources. Okay, let's just say that was available. Okay, and you're going to probably say, well, yeah, but that's not as quick as just typing in a fund number. I know, you're right. And then we get to this report, we would have to have a way on the report to show those pieces of information, whether it's in the headers, right? Maybe it's over here, or if it's in the summary. Those are the two things I'm thinking right now that we'd have to do to reports if we eliminated that ID. Now, that ID, doesn't give us a lot, but like it doesn't tell us a lot. I know you know them, but it's obvious because you can just tell me one, but it doesn't tell us anything. So I think if we want to keep the ID, it may be important to do that, then we probably ought to have some meaning in the ID. Otherwise, so it can be shorthanded here on the report. Otherwise, it's all over the board. Everybody's doing it different, and nobody can really say, well, and some people are doing it one way one time and another way another time. And then, like, as the years went by, maybe somebody else took a hold and said, you know what, we need to make our IDs look like this. I totally understand that. So,
yeah, well,
who's passionate about the format?
I mean, the purpose of the reporting too, it kind of to each his or her own. I mean, you know, always can, you know, they can, if they're the ones kind of running the report and they're seeing like their LWIAs, it's, you know, I would again defer to everybody else and see if, you know, they have a preference. It's kind of, you know, they're to each their own, you know. But if it's someone like, you know, with DCO, like at the state level, and they say, oh, we want to look at number, you know, then it's probably good to give them to also have the option if we do keep relationship numbers, instead of searching by relationship number, if you wanted to look at, okay, this LWIA, how many people have they sent to this provider or this location? So, you know, you could to add those other options, query options, as you mentioned, would be awesome.
I think we're definitely
regardless of whether
that.
you keep a relationship number or not, because
I agree with you. I think we would do that anyway, because in today's, you know, querying and reporting world, you know, you use meaningful data to filter by. We don't even shortcut on. We don't just say 1D, you know, or 1A. Those are codes, right? We give you the whole description. You know, we would give you, you know, we owe a youth, or we owe adult, or we owe a dislocated worker. We would give you that choice, not just 1D or 1A, which are the, you know, codes that somebody made up that, you know, are specific to somebody making them up. Sometimes we get codes like from DOL or something. I understand that we might have that are very specific. But anyway, okay. We probably belabored this enough. We'll probably come back. We'll have to think it over. I'll probably get with some of those folks that are more tuned in as suggested to reporting and how that's done. We still haven't concluded on this, and that's totally okay. I would like to hear if anyone has a clever and consistent relationship ID naming that they think this helps us so much by having our IDs this way, and we always do it this way. Is there anybody on this call that can say, I am passionate about the way we name these relationships? Is there anybody?
Well, I know I did change mine differently from what it was previous used to be. I do use like a date setup where I put the year, the month, and the date in there. And then the 2-digit, I can always use it as a title if I want to do 1N, 1E, et cetera, et cetera. I can put those in there to distinguish what I'm using that particular training provider for. If I'm using it strictly for 1A, so if I want to pull up a 1A report that show me all the 1A for that person, I have it. Same thing for 1D. I try to make my stuff very simple. If I need to get numbers quickly, I don't want to have to go in there and somebody 1A is using it, 1D is using it, 1Y, because now I got to try to go filter out everything. So I try to keep things separate based on the title these clients will be enrolling to.
So that
So
sounds like
that's what,
you're building relationships
right,
separate. You don't have a big
right,
relationship. Okay. Gotcha.
right. So, because some like the College of Lake County, we got a lot of different stuff that they do, and I got them breaking down to various different grants, you know, that we use, or special grants that come about for them. Again, the trade, do the same thing with the trade as well, and just go from there. But yes, if y'all can find a simple way that we could all coexist with the same information, and we could pull up reports for our local area, that if we need something, I would be all for it. Because yeah, this reporting system need to be changed. It is kind of messed up that all 24 of us got different ways of doing stuff. And the more clear we can make our report for DCO as well, the better we're going to have, we will show better numbers.
All right.
So Al, you got to come up with something good. We all want,
Yeah, it sounds
we
like
all,
it.
yeah, we all want this change. Cause a lot of these reports said we really don't even use it. It's a waste of time. It's in there. It gave us inaccurate data.
Yeah.
The system doesn't update. You got to sometimes wait a week for it to update. It's not real time. And sometimes, you know, waiting a week could cost us some time.
No. Yeah, I understand. Yep. We got to get reports. We got to get rid of reports we never use. We got to have reports that have data on them that's effective and useful, and we got to have great querying capability. So I understand that. Okay.
And then if later on, if we had to create a new report or something that's really needed, hopefully y'all could implement where y'all could do an update to the system and say, hey, we created this new report because the demand for all the local area always looking for this type of information. That would be great.
Okay. I'm gonna switch topics, and this is an interesting topic. We're getting into this document management stuff right now, because we have it more than just customers, but we're creating a document management component that we're going to use all over the place. And hold on a minute, let me find what I'm looking for. There we go. I'm going to log in a test real quick, and I'm going to show you what I'm looking at, and see if we can think about this a little bit. From a better, see if we can improve upon this. Okay, I know you've all been to this document management piece. This is actually at the customer, and to give you a refresher for everybody that we're talking the same language, this today we tag files with the customer ID and the application ID. That's how we tag these files. Now we're thinking about changing that a little bit, but that doesn't really matter, because wherever you find this component we're talking about, that you would see a list and update and add documents, we're going to make sure that it would use the correct association to whatever you're doing, right? So right now there's only really one area or one place on that customer, but if we use that component and uploaded documents in different spots throughout, then we would probably, connect that or associate that with whatever that was. So, but what I wanted to get to was this here. Okay. I gotta imagine this is painful, because this is a huge list. And I look at some of this and I'm like, there's even some duplicates, not too many though. And there's really no necessarily, I don't know exactly how this got built over time. Because sometimes in here, these document names, as you know, like in a list like this, if you type in a character, it's going to go to that character. Sometimes you can get two characters in quick. So if I typed in yay, it would go to bank records, right? So that's helpful. But we may also want to categorize these. Okay. So like, for example, this is kind of really bank records, but wouldn't bank statements be bank records, and wouldn't, maybe not, maybe bankruptcy documents? I don't know for sure. And are we, I guess I'll stop asking questions, like the answer. Are we using all of these? And here, this is another problem, copy, right? Well, I'm assuming everything's a copy. I mean, it's a digital copy. So you'd probably want authorization to receive cash public assistance as the first, so that, it didn't get caught down here in the C's. Cause I mean, if I'm looking at public assistance check and I hit, public assistance check, I hit PU, it's like, I don't see that. Actually, it's there too. Or some stuff is in public assistance. So as you can see, I really do think we need to clean this up a little bit, but we also want to categorize this. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm glad you brought this up. I can't wait to hear what everybody got to say. Frankly speaking, this here is a waste of time. I know we need it, but it's a waste of time, because if we're not using it, why we have it there? To me, when we do a client application, we should upload everything, and this way we don't have to have it in the client's file. So when we get ready to destroy the file, we don't have to worry about all of this information. The only time we would use this if DCO asks us to upload information. The rest of the time, it's just right there, and then you got to give rights to people to even upload file. So, like I said, I want to love to hear what everybody's saying and who is using it and how they benefited with this stuff. So, but yeah, this thing is a lot of duplication. It needs to be organized better. It's too much of this. There's too much repeated stuff on this thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, Al.
Okay, so somebody chip in here. Who's using it very religiously, so to speak? Who's using it like, okay, we've got this set way, we want to make sure all these particular documents are up there and not just tossed into a physical folder? Or who's saying we never use that, we just toss them into the physical folder? What's the consensus here?
You know what, this is Christy from LWIA 7. I know we use a different system, but it's called funding source list of documents. I think, like in Career Connect, we only have those things that are listed on that. I can't remember the name of the document now, but there's it's like a list of saying these are the documents you can use to prove this, and that's all we have on, like, available to choose. Like in Career Connect, you click on verify. Verify means you have the form. So this is much larger than what we have, and I'm sorry, I think it's like called Fund Documentation Source or something. It came from DCEO. So my opinion, it should just match whatever's on that approved list of documents, which it looks like this is a lot of duplicates.
Yeah, plus forms.
There's a lot of duplicate, and again, what are we using it for? Because,
yes, thank you.
We don't use it. I know we don't use it. And like I said, the only time we use it is when we have to upload per DCO. Other than that,
yeah, and see,
don't.
I think we're using it differently in Career Connect. We have to choose something along the lines of the application. So I think it depends on how you all are going to set your system up. But yes, thank you, Laura. It's the fund source eligibility. I'm like, I can't remember the name. But anyway, we use it in a different way than maybe you all are using it. So I guess that's what I wanted to say. We just, whatever that is on that document, that's what we use. And it's not as large as what you just showed there.
Oh, Laura, is this eligibility source documentation? Is this all that's required to be uploaded from policy perspective?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, and the upload document was something that was recent, and I believe that came about around COVID when we couldn't go out and do monitoring, and they had to have those documents uploaded into the system.
That's what I was just going
But
to
now that
say.
we've got,
It kind of
okay.
goes to like purpose and scope. Like, do local areas want to do it to reduce paperwork, or at a state level for consistency, or making sure for remote monitoring, or if the state gets has a need to, like, kind of look into something, or participant records, or is it for federal reporting? So I guess it's really going to be determined kind of by um, I'm sorry, I'm probably trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about here. I don't know if I do, but necessity, purpose, and scope kind of, I guess, would be the three things, which I guess you are asking, Al. I'm just saying, like, just reiterating that, because I remember the upload thing going in effect during the trade WIOA co-enrollment mandate and state merit staff having to review documents. So that's when I first remember the upload feature being an option. And in terms of the life of IWDS, as Laura said, it is pretty recent. I mean, if you're going back, it's like 2011 or something like that. When it was expanded was much more recently, yeah, because of COVID, or even if there's just like travel constraints, where for any time, whether it's COVID or travel constraints, anytime there's a need for remote monitoring or desk monitoring, I think is maybe the term that you would use for that. But yeah, I mean, I guess that would determine and what needs to be, or what would require, or what do you want to give us the option to upload? Is it for the local area to be able to that has multiple AJCs, worknet centers in larger areas like Cook, or sparser areas where it's 3 or 4, 5 counties, it might be more convenient for them, instead of having to like go and find a physical file, for a participant that's registered under their LWIA. So yeah, it's just what the purpose is, and then is anything really necessary? I mean, I don't know, like, is that going to become necessary to be uploading them? If not, and if it's by choice, then then yeah, then it's good, I guess. Yeah, you would ask, well, what's the purpose? Like, do you want to have a completely electronic and almost paperless file? Then you give people the option, areas the option to upload, kind of anything. And then the categorizing thing, I was saying that in the chat. I meant you could maybe have some drop down boxes instead of one massive drop down box. Once you eliminate duplicates and realize, okay, this would never be uploaded in a file. Once you trim that list down, even if it could still end up being a long list. But what I was saying is, like, maybe have drop boxes based on the category of that document's use. So like assessment docs, eligibility docs, customer.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Records. Yeah. And then, and some documents you could keep on the list in more than one Dropbox, because they could be appropriate for either or. But that's why I was thinking, I just wasn't saying it specifically, but by categorizing it. And then that way it's not one huge list. You could have 4 or 5 Dropboxes with a little bit more manageable lists to scroll down.
Right.
So I have a question regarding that, because part of this has to do with DCO policy, because we're under the impression that under conditions of when monitoring has happened, we're given instructions to upload documents when it's done hybrid or remote, so that the documents can be viewed, right? We use it often for trade and so forth, and then we load it up. But we were never given permission to upload documents for eligibility and to maintain a case file, so that we didn't have to have a physical file. I believe the current policies state we still have to have a physical file on location. So I think part of this is well, is it just going to be used for monitoring when we're told to upload stuff, right? Or is it going to be utilized in the new system to be able to attach eligibility documentation to eligibility sections of 2.0? Or, ITAs, right? Are you able to attach upload and attach ITA approvals that each area does to those ITA service activities that you would load into the 2.0, and be able to go paperless, or do we have to actually keep that physical file? So if we have to keep a physical file, then only time we would be really loading anything into either IWDS or 2.0 is like during monitoring. But if we're able to go just files, and it's going to be built into the 2.0 where we can just upload everything and update everything in 2.0, then really we would just be uploading everything to that. But that I think would be a policy change that needs to happen on DCO level.
I don't know what the policy is. Somebody would have to point me to that. If it says, hey, you got to keep the physical file, and this is what has to be in that physical file, I would think that's not that wouldn't be a huge deal to have a policy that says you can keep the file either way, because nowadays the digital file is, we're way beyond the fact that digital records are legally bound or whatever, it's like most areas, a lot of areas of agencies or businesses or departments do not have paper. So, we'd be okay but I don't know what you think, Lori, if there's
like Rory
a
put in
policy
the,
change.
yeah, like Rory put in the chat. I mean, a lot of it also has to do with PII. And so we have to make sure that the system is secure enough
Oh
to
yeah,
do that.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then also to the point where, you might be able to see that there's a document exists, but you may not be able to download it, depending on your level of permission.
Yeah.
That may be another thing too,
I have to chime in on that. First of all, our geography, we have 9 counties. It's huge. We're spread out all over the place. Those 9 counties, we have a paper file in each county, obviously, and then an administrative copy in our main offices. The only time we use this is for TAA or monitoring purposes. Going all digital is not an option for places that are so spread out rurally unless everyone has access to the internet. It's a fact. There are county offices that we have where the internet is spotty at best, and you can't have a situation where somebody's waiting for services because you can't upload their documents. That's just a fact.
And I'm sorry, I thought I remember Olivia saying we weren't going to be able to upload eligibility documents because it was something with an agreement with the state or something.
Right.
Originally, we didn't think we were going to do that at all. Okay, and John Barr worked with Do It and said, "Hey, is this an issue because we're hosting all on you guys and if we have all the files on Do It has the policy and insurance and all the kind of PI stuff covered. If we are all on your side with this file management capability, and they have a system called DocuWare, which is a document management system. It's not just a file server. And that's where we're putting documents today, and that's where we put them in the future. If this is all on your side, is this neat? And we've worked through that, and it is okay to work through. It's okay. But we don't need to say, hey, I'm not saying, I have no reason to push us into let's have everything electronically by any means. We can keep it the same as, hey, these documents need to be up there. These documents don't. But if that's the case, then we shouldn't have a list of document types that's 10 miles long if we're only going to put certain document types up there. That's all. I guess that was a lot to say, but I'm just saying, you know, I'm no dog in the hunt, so to speak. We don't, from our perspective, it's just we want to make a system that is capable, and we also want to make it so that it is, you know, easy to use and those kinds of things. But you know, I just want to know where you wanted to go with this. And I think maybe it might be a state discussion now that I've talked to you all, but I wanted to point that out, and I'm glad I got this out in front of everybody. But I think I need to circle back around and say, okay, what do we want to, if you really want this capability, because we've been asked to continue this file upload capability, file management capability, and or you know, document file / file, whatever. And so when I started getting into that and started doing some research, I saw this 10-mile list of document types. And I thought, well, let me ask a few questions. So I'm glad we talked about it. Let me take this back to the state folks and say, let's get some ideas about what our options are and direction is, and then I'll bring it back to you. Okay, then I'll see what everybody feels like. But you did bring up an interesting point that I got to think through that I don't think I've ever heard before, and that is, whoever it was, and thank you for bringing it up, is that we have offices that do not have internet, because then we got to think about things like an IEP being online. So the ability
I tell you, I was the one who brought that up, and I can tell you the one thing that has saved us in doing files over and over and over again is being able to print it. Everything has to be printable.
Yeah.
And I mean printable
I get you.
as a blank, you know, so that you have it and you can at least gather the information. And then when you get back to wherever you've got access to the internet, that then you can put it in there and upload it. But there are places in IWDS where you can't really print a blank, you know, you can't print blank what you need. You have to kind of go in and eliminate things, and, you know, in order to get something or recreate it or whatever. So that's really important.
Okay. And you're LWO what? What LWO are you from?
We have 14.
14. Okay.
This is Christy. I'm sorry. I just want to add one more thing. I'm sorry. I know we're transitioning to the other discussion, but we use the upload document in Career Connect, and I'm going to tell you, we only use it because of COVID. And right now we have a lot of mixed messages because we as a partnership never decided if they should do it all electronic or all paper or whatever. So agencies are a little confused. So I think that I think somebody set some guidelines need to be set about what should be uploaded and when, or if you're going to do all paper, then they should do all paper, or they should do all virtual or uploaded documents, because we're dealing with a little bit of confusion, which I think we created on our own self, but just throwing that out there. So we do have the option to do this, which I think we should, but we should have some rules around it. That's all I wanted to throw out.
Okay, good. I'm glad we talked through this, because some things I figure I'm not in the know and I don't know. And so I need to hear what we've been kind of doing. And it sounds like we need to get our arms around it a little bit better. So,
well, and there are areas, I mean, like our county offices have, I mean, we can usually have internet at those, but if you do any kind of outreach, you know, if you're going out in the middle of nowhere, you take your stuff with you. And then when you get back to the county office, then you enter all of your information.
Right. I get you.
I
All
guess
right.
I guess my only question is, instead of having copies of the people documentation in their file, can we upload everything into IWDS and don't have to have it in the file? That would be my best thing, because then when we get ready to get rid of file for retention purpose, everything is uploaded. The information, their social security, their birth certificate, everything is uploaded, and we don't have to have it in the file. This is the only thing I see that would be helpful to everybody, because then we're not held accountable if we lose any PII information in a client file. So that's my only thing. I would like it for that purpose and that purpose only.
Yeah, regardless of when you do it, right?
Right.
If you've got some paper document, you say, hey, I need these uploaded so we can get, a backup.
We,
But we don't have to
yeah,
rely
why
on
we
that
want to keep
paper
it? Why we
file.
want to keep
Yeah,
it?
right. Okay. Well, thank you.
I'm sorry. I want to throw
Go
one other
ahead.
thing. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem.
In Career Connect, the customer has the option to upload the documents their own self. So the career coaches don't have to do it. It's both, like the coaches can do it and the customers can do it. So just FYI, I don't know if that's something you've thought about, if the customer was able to do it their own self or just the staff. So just throwing it out there, we have the capability of doing both. So I don't know what IWDS is. I think IWDS is just the coach, but just FYI.
Yeah, I get you. No, we can definitely give you that capability. All right. I'm trying to cut us off early. If there's any more for this, yeah, go ahead.
Drag and drop would be my last thing instead of having to choose file. Like,
Sure, that's fine.
Because and now that more people are talking about files, it does make sense to still have paper files in a lot of ways. Like if somebody comes in and if they are not comfortable sending copies of their pay stubs to verify their employment, if we have to verify like supplemental wages or something, if they work for an entity, it doesn't report into the UI system, for example. And they're like, well, hey, I don't really want to email this to you, even if you say it can be encrypted through, they may want to come in and make a physical photocopy of it, and then to put that in the file versus having to copy it, and then the career planner, has to scan it. Although I guess you could do that on the same machine nowadays. You could copy and scan it, upload it. But I'm just saying, I do see. I may have sounded like I was arguing, like advocating for the digital. I wasn't saying digital only. I was just saying, if it's an option, keep it. But so I do recognize that, like having some paper, having a paper file, and being able to put, some paper things in it it's more feasible and convenient in some respects. So I do see that can be, why that is more convenient sometimes.
You got to get with the time, Rory. You doing old school too much, and you want to keep paper documents for everything. Guess what? If you upload it, I'm sorry to tell you, you can always go back and view it within the system and see the information. The less paperwork you give your case managers and business service people to do, if we have access to it, we could pull it up from there. Now, if the information they submitted a while back is out of date, then we'll say, hey, bring this in. But you got a lot of time people coming in here more than one time. They come and use the job center for this, and this, and who knows what information. But if we can upload it, at least we have a digital copy when needed. And they come in and say, hey, do you still have that digital copy? I lost mine. Hey, we could print it out if they show proper identification and give them a copy. So Rory, stop it.
Oh no, I agree. I was just trying to be, like
I got love for you, Rory. I got love for you, Rory.
I know. I was just trying to see both sides of the story. Now, excuse me while I go put ink in my, excuse me while I go put ink and carbon paper in my Ditto machine.
Oh, because I was just talking to Steve from the Secretary of State. He said, man, why don't y'all just look into this scan everything? This way you have a digital thing, you can get rid of file more quicker than you have to wait till 4 years and stuff. based on, you know, the retention policy. And I'm like, yeah, there's something I'm gonna talk to my boss about, but it really comes down is if would DCO let us scan all the paperwork once we finish with a client instead of having a paper copy. If we scan everything in, we got a digital copy, and we could quickly get rid of the file instead of keeping it, and that'd be more storage, that's more responsibility and stuff like that. I let the team. I like to hear what the team said. If man, Al, I know you bringing up a lot of stuff, so it's on you, Al. So you see what you started.
Oh, all right. That's my two topics, believe it or not. I didn't think they would last that long, but that's super cool. I'm okay with that. Taylor or Danny or anybody, do you have any other topics today?
I do not have anything else to cover.
All right. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Hopefully we'll see you back here next Thursday and we'll present some more interesting stuff to you to get your feedback.
All
You know
right,
what?
Al. Well, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I
ahead.
have one question. Are we
Yeah, no
meeting next
problem.
week? Because well,
I know
we have a
Juneteenth.
holiday on the
Yeah,
19th.
Juneteenth is the 19th. That was going
It's
to be my
fine if you
next
do,
question.
just making sure.
No, I thought Juneteenth was on
It is a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Right.
Oh, you're thinking people will take off the rest of the week?
Yes, I'm thinking people are taking off.
Yeah.
We'll set it up. Whoever wants to get on gets on. If you're out, of
Okay.
course you're out. But yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Al. Hey, Al, have a great rest of your day and week too.
Yeah.
And to
you.
everybody on this chat. I really like all of this feedback we hearing. This is good stuff. I think we're going to develop a better system than we have right now. So
Sure.
cool ups to all of us.
Yeah. Good job. Thanks. Appreciate
All right.
everybody.
Okay. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.